think that's our last announcement. Yes, it is. So next up, we are going to introduce someone who is no stranger to the Nerd Nite stage. This is his third talk here. Crissman Loomis. Crissman Loomis is a mathematician by training and a body hacker at heart. Or hacking your heart. Yes. He thrives on diving into new topics, reading the latest studies, and testing them on himself. From experimenting with a year of veganism to gaining 9 kilograms of muscle in just 2 months. Ooh. He's always exploring new ways to optimize health and performance. Google Scholar is his go-to source for the latest breakthroughs. Please welcome back Crissman Loomis.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. So we started out, thank you Kate for sort of the big picture. We've gone to the universe and how we got to where we are. So I'm going to smoothly transition from the universe and pick up from where we are to where we're going to be and how you personally are going to die. So we'll go straight into the future from there. Hopefully this will go to my presentation. Or kind of. Hi.
Sorry. Multitasking. Where did it go? I have to drag. I think I have to drag it in. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so fiddly.
Right here.
I got it. And I gotta drag it in, and then I gotta hit the present button. I feel like a high school vice principal.
You're watching it happen for us right now. There we go.
Cursor off the screen. There you go. Sorry about that.
Right. So I'm also a mathematician, so you've got double mathematician duty today. Lucky you. But lately, what I've been doing is I've been researching on health and how to live as long as you possibly can while working the minimum amount required to actually live that long. Because you want to have space to do all the other things. So I have a website, unaging.com. And tonight, as we've talked about, as I mentioned, I'll be telling you how you're likely to die, what are the systems you need to keep that from happening, and then what are the things that you do that would make that as unlikely as possible. So I hope that by the end of the talk tonight, you'll have a few concrete ideas of things that you could actually do in your life that could help you get more of your life. So I have 2 basic topics, how you'll die and the 3 systems that prevent it. And then also I'll be talking about the Unaging Challenge 2025. So this is my 2nd annual challenge, and I'll tell you a little about the 2025 challenge, which just finished on Sunday, and give you an opportunity, if you're interested, to register for the free program for 2026. So with that, let's get into it. So how you'll die. So we'll start at the very top. So this is, some of you might recognize him. This is Aubrey de Grey. So he was one of the first people who said that basically the study of how to live as long as you possibly can should be its own study. It shouldn't be, we're going to try and find out things that will kill you, like pneumonia or COVID or other things, and cure them, but actually we should try to figure out how to expand lifespan itself. And he came up with like 7 systems of various things, and they're kind of esoteric. And they won't be explained in the speech, but they're things like telomeres, and your mTOR passage, and mitochondria functionality. But I have good news for you, because actually the systems that you'll need to live as long as you possibly could are much more simple and things that you probably recognize. They start out with things like your cardiovascular system. So here we have entry number 1 on ways that you're likely to die. So about 33%, according to the Global Health Survey, died from cardiovascular issues. This covers things as diverse, well, from like stroke, heart attack is sort of a classic. Stroke, which can have 2 flavors of it. You can have a stroke where you have a blood clot that prevents blood from getting to your brain. And you can also have a stroke, which is an ischemic stroke, where basically the veins in your brain then break down and then the blood gets into your brain directly. Both of them are bad, so avoid both of them. So it's one of the major causes, and it also increases as you get older. You rarely, unfortunately sometimes you do, but rarely hear about people in their 30s or 20s having this. But as you get older in age, it's going to become more and more a problem and exponential as it's sort of like your veins sort of degrade over time. And the second issue that you might have heard of, might be familiar with, is fortunately cancer. And cancer is another one of the issues. It's about 1/5 of all deaths globally are from cancer. And we're making some progress on that, but it feels like we're not doing as well on it as we should. And the third category I've kind of thrown in here is a catch-all. It's sort of like everything else. These three. It'll be in one of these three for sure. So the everything else, it covers all of the, like traffic accidents are covered in here. It covers COVID falls under this thing, all of the infectious diseases. The largest category after cardiovascular and cancer is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is basically saying that you can't breathe. And that's like 4.5%, and everything after that becomes much less. So it's sort of a various basket. But what I found as I was researching ways to live longer is that most of the things that are really beneficial in moving the needle as far as living longer kind of affect most of these in some way. And so even though like everything else is the catch-all basket of all the other things, most of the things that you would do that would improve your general health also catch a lot of the things in the everything else. So let me get into the specific systems then that actually influence all of these. So the three systems to prevent it. The first system is the vascular. So as you can imagine, this dovetails quite strongly with the cardiovascular systems. So the vascular system, basically, your entire blood system then is one of the, I should have more stats on this exactly how large it is, but it affects your entire body throughout. And the distribution of all the medicines, all the enzymes, the cleanup of everything afterwards goes through the entire body. It's fundamentally super important, extremely important, but it also is prone to breaking down over time because it's kind of one of the biggest moving parts of the entire body, right? As you're shuttling all of these nutrients back and forth between the body, it's extremely important. And it can start to break down. And the breakdown, first of all, of course, is most important for cardiovascular, as you can get clots from cholesterol and other things that can impede it, or the vein walls themselves can become weak and then allow bleeding where it shouldn't happen. But it also has a big effect on everything else. So your cardiovascular system, because it carries your immune system, carrying your white blood cells to where they need to go, also strongly affects how sort of all of the immune system and the other systems work together as well. In the transportation, the superhighway of the body, the cardiovascular is very important in all the other effects that you can have. And the second critical system, or the ways that you measure this about the health of your vascular system, number one is your blood pressure, actually. So they've had several studies that have shown that basically blood pressure is much more important than they thought. It's one of the first things they figured out before they could even do blood markers and things. They realized that you could test how strongly the veins were pulsing with a mercury meter. And that's what the continuing measurement of it is. And it should be about 120/80 and below. And this is one of the things that you can measure fairly easily in your own house. I measure it daily. I'm in the business, I guess. So probably more than I need to. Another one that you might not have heard of is alipoprotein B, called ApoB. This is kind of a more sophisticated way of measuring the last one, which you might have heard of, which is LDL cholesterol, low density lipids cholesterol. These are going to be the best indicator of how healthy overall your cardiovascular system is. So let me go ahead and jump to the next system, which is the immune system. This is another one where there are multiple failure modes in it. So your immune system is what's going to respond to all of the diseases that you might catch. And you think of this as being what protects you from COVID, protects you from the flu, protects you from all of the possible contagions that you could get. But unfortunately, it also oftentimes goes wrong on the opposite side, where you're catching problems that were caused by it. Arthritis, for example, is caused by an autoimmune issue, or where it's attacking your own system. So if it doesn't have the right tuning, or it's overly sensitized, then it can actually turn against your own body and cause problems on the opposite side. Again, this is quite pervasive, like the vascular system. It goes throughout your entire body, and so we can have issues on both sides. And for instance, the most important influence of the immune system is actually that it's the primary stop of cancer. One of the things that they're trying to work on right now is creating vaccines for cancer. But your immune system already does this. When a cell has has started to reproduce unnaturally, your immune system is actually the first stop that then takes those cells out to prevent cancer from spreading any further. So it's critical for cancer and also, again, everything else as we get into the other infectious diseases, COVID or pneumonia or influenza or other things. But the other side of this, as I mentioned, is that also the immune system, when it's overreactive, when you have inflammation or inflammaging, the immune system itself can unfortunately cause many issues. So it's another one of the systems that needs to be tuned, especially as you're getting older. And then this can be measured by CRP. For those of you who are living in Japan and having annual health checkups, this is a pretty regular one on the blood test that you'll get every year. It's a C-reactive protein, and it measures your overall inflammation. And this gives you a very good feeling for actually how active the system is. And it's sort of a bit conflicting because if you have something that your body is fighting off an infection, you would like it to be a little higher because it's doing its job. But if you don't currently have an infection of some kind that it's fighting, you would like it to be virtually zero, which is saying that it's not causing any attacks on your blood system and other things that you don't want. And the last one, WBC, is abbreviation for white blood cells, which is one of the primary things. Again, this will be measured in a standard blood test and tell you how many white blood cells you have to defend your system. And then for the last of the three systems, I have it's the metabolism. And this one as well is sort of like there's a two-sided approach to this. The metabolism is basically dealing with how well your body processes energy. And this, again, happens throughout the entire body. It's one of the fundamental systems that you need to worry about. The issues with this you would know is diabetes or insulin resistance or other things or weight regulation, these kind of things that can be very negative and then cause a host of other issues with them. This is why it's connected most strongly with everything else, where if you have issues with your metabolism or your mitochondria, which is the small organelles inside of every cell that provide energy. So every cell in your body, except for the blood cells, has mitochondria, and then this mitochondria is providing all of the energy for the body. So it's extremely important as you get older that your mitochondria continues to work at a high level, and it is one of the things also that can degrade as you get older. It also is affecting your cardiovascular system. If you have too much blood or the wrong kinds of fats within your blood system, that will cause more of a buildup that then can degrade your cardiovascular system. And also cancer as well. When cancer forms, it lives on glucose, high amounts of glucose. And so then your metabolism in some way is helping the cancer grow itself because it's cells that are replicating on their own. All right, so we've talked about the ways you're going to die and the systems that would support them. So let's get a little bit more positive and see what you can do about it. So before we do that, let's talk about how you can see your metabolism. So HbA1c, again, a little bit esoteric, but this is a blood test that you'll probably get with your annual checkup if you go for an annual checkup. That will tell you what your average sugar level is in your blood. So it should be around 5% or so. And if it's higher, I think around 6% or so, that's sort of the diabetic range. And it's measuring over a longer period what you can tell from your glucose, which is the amount of sugar in your blood, can tell you in a shorter period. So your blood test will take a fasting glucose level. Generally, you want that to be below 100 or so. And the last one is kind of a mix of a few of them. It's your velocity of your maximum oxygen velocity. Let me try that again. It's the maximum velocity with which you can convert oxygen into energy. So it's a VO2 max. And this is a good end-to-end test because it's basically testing how much oxygen you can breathe in, how much your lungs can take in, how much of that is then sent by your vascular system to your heart, that is then sent around your body to be sent to the cells that need the oxygen to convert them into energy by the mitochondria, and then that is measuring what the maximum output of that system is. But it has a very important impact on your overall vascular system. This is one of the first things that you'll see improving as you get more exercise or are eating the right kinds of foods. You'll notice the VO2 max will go up. It can be measured, approximated. It can be approximated by most kind of wearables that you might have. If you want to go really serious about it, there's an excellent clinic in Tokyo that you can go to where you can run on a treadmill at speeds that are too high for you to sustain until you fail, and they'll say, okay, this is your maximum VO2 because you couldn't run any faster. Right, so those are the systems. So let's talk now about how to save those systems. So here's a quick overview of sort of the three systems in a Venn diagram, because I'm sure that this will be clear to everyone at an immediate glance. So the ones that are in bold here, the walking in the sunlight, are the ones that are very strong interactions. And you'll notice that the ones that have strong interactions help and support more of these systems. So walking is the most underrated, most powerful intervention that you can do. Walking hits all of the three systems. It reduces your blood pressure, as well as, for reasons I don't really understand, I'm a mathematician, it really helps your immune system. Like, it keeps your immune system, the activity of your immune system goes down very significantly when you go walking. And it also helps your metabolism because it is absorbing all of the extra sugars that you have floating through your system. So walking around 10,000 or 12,000 steps a day, this is serious time, by the way. I don't want to downplay this. This is about 1.5 hours to 2 hours of walking a day. Can reduce all-cause mortality by about 65%. It's the strongest intervention that I have found. Also, sunlight is another one that's very healthy. It helps the immune system with vitamin D, which is then helpful in fending off infections. It also helps your vascular system by lowering your blood pressure. It reduces nitrous oxide, which then will lower your blood pressure. And also helps your metabolism by improving mitochondrial function. And one of the fun things I love about sunlight is that people kind of think sunlight equals vitamin D. But the later research is showing actually that across the spectrum of sunlight, there's ultraviolet, which is what's giving you the vitamin D. But then on the other side, there's infrared and red spectrum. And that is then what is improving the efficiency of the mitochondria to improve the little organelles within each of your cells that provide you with energy. So I'm going to jump from here into the tiers of what actually provides the most benefit. This is the cheat sheet. These are the things that will give you the most bang for the buck and show you what the average American gets. And some of them are not very high, and they get to here. But if you're walking 12,000 steps, you can get over to there. As I said, walking is the #1 intervention of everything that I've seen. This is based off of observational studies. You can't do randomized controlled studies for death because people live too long, which is good. So observational studies are where we get most of the data for these things. But all of these things, and the top ones, the sauna, high intensity interval training is the third one there, which is basically where you run full out and then you run at a jog and then full out or repeat or other exercises. Not smoking. I don't think I need a nerd night to tell you that smoking's bad. Aerobic exercise, and then strength training are the other A-tier things. So as you've been listening to this, hopefully you've been thinking, these are great, I really want to do these. If only I had a program that was free that would teach me over a year how to do these things. So that brings me to the 2026 Unaging Challenge. This is a labor of love. I'm a mathematician, but this is what I'm doing full-time, is basically running yearly programs to help people do the same thing. And the first start of it basically is broken into 4 phases. And the first phase is the aerobic and high-intensity interval training phase. Last year, we had 130 people sign up. It is a challenge. So it only requires 1.5 hours of exercise a week. As I said at the beginning of this, my whole point is to live as long as I can while spending as little of my time as I can to live as long as I can. And I found basically that 1.5 hours of exercise in a week is enough to gain all of these benefits out of it. And honestly, you don't get that much from gaining more. That's excluding the walking. So that takes free time. So the first 12 weeks of it actually is high intensity interval training. And then after that, we go to strength training. So we had 130 people started. I think we had around 30 people who continued on. And we do a whole program. We teach you exactly what it is that you exercise. And the good news is that you only need, in this stage, you only exercise, go to the gym twice a week for about 30 minutes. And that's all you need. For the longevity benefits, actually, this is one that's commonly overdone. Because the gym, once you get used to it at a certain point, if you're competitive, it can be quite addictive, and a lot of people go to it a lot. But we're trying to move it in with your life and make it more manageable. So you go twice a week, and it's 30 minutes. And the total weight that was lifted by all the competitors, all the participants, I should say, over the 12-week program last year was enough to lift a fully loaded semi, which is what they're doing here. And then the third challenge, you start to just walk hard. No, actually walk easy. One of the rules of the walking challenge is that you cannot speed run the walking challenge. So any of the steps that you get in the running, which you continue to do, we're building habits for life, you have to subtract off of your step count because only walking counts. It doesn't add any longevity if you're doing it too fast. We've already got the right values for that. But over the period of the 12-week challenge, altogether we walked 11 million steps, which is enough to go from Nome, Alaska down to Miami, Florida. And then the last stage is then the unaging plate challenge, where we then take a look at your diet. As I mentioned, this is another one of the things, the metabolism is very important for you. And the cheat sheet on this one, the number one thing that's going to give you the most benefit is right in the middle there, it's the olive oil. So gram for gram, there's nothing better that you can do for your health than getting about 10 grams of olive oil or about 20 grams of nuts a day. Oh, by the way, you can't overload that one either. Like the first 10 grams of olive oil or 20 grams of nuts are super helpful, give you a 70% reduction in all-cause mortality. And the second 10 grams of olive oil or the second 20 grams of nuts do nothing for you. I hope they were tasty. There's no additional benefit. It's got the benefit is it's one of the most beneficial foods, and then just flat after that. So anyways, we spend another 12 weeks then building on top of while doing the running in the right amount, the exercise, strength training, and the walking in the right amount. Then we add in to tell you what are the foods that are best for you. So this is the early adopters. I want to show that it's about real people. So these are my friends. The early adopters was the friends, fools, and family stage. I like things for my friends. And this is the people who did it. But we've then also continued on and done it in the 2026 challenge. And this is 2025. This is some of the feedback. So I was like, okay, do I need to do this again? Like I did it once. And we have a Discord for support or emails that go out as well to support people. And one person, Anna, said, it's really changed my life, even though I've been far from perfect. It's a cooperative thing, not competitive. And Kuba-san, who is 38 years old and has 2 kids, said this is the best shape of his life. And he was starting from a low baseline, which I think actually makes it more gratifying. So that's the basics of the challenge. And honestly, that's the basics of my speech. Thank you for listening. You can register for the 2026 challenge. Oh, for questions.
Okay, we're going to have to cut the questions a little bit short, but I think we have time for about 10 minutes or so. So, yeah, okay.
Issue?
Yeah, sorry, it's on number 2.
Thank you. So just a very brief question, great presentation, thank you. Sleep.
Mm-hmm. It's
That's
overrated.
all I have to say.
It's overrated. So like some people like Brian Johnson, who's an influencer in the health world, will say that it's the most important thing. It's at the top of his list. But I think sleep is like, you saw the tiers. I had F tier, A tier. I didn't get to it. I think it's like C tier. And the optimum amount of time to sleep is 7 hours a night. That's like the minimum point. But if you had to choose between sleeping 8 hours or 6 hours, from a longevity point of view, 6 hours is actually healthier than 8. And 5 hours is healthier than 10. So it's I'm only looking at, I'm not looking at quality of life or how you feel when you wake up, but I can say that from the longevity numbers, it's overrated. There's the numbers on it.
Short stupid question. Are all olives as good as olive oil?
What?
Are olives as good as olive oil?
Yes. Next question.
So the philosophical aspect in addition to biological, in this movement, is there also a focus on learning to enjoy life more, because there is a subset of individuals who really want to live long lives, but they're very publicly miserable and they don't appear to be enjoying life. So in a way, they're just prolonging their misery. So in addition to improving your blood work, is there also a philosophical focus on learning to enjoy life more?
Absolutely. So that's why the whole point of the Unaging Challenge is to spend the minimum amount of time in the gym and the maximum amount of time doing all the other things. I sometimes I feel like the worst health longevity expert in it because I still eat sugary foods. I drink alcohol. Hello. I drink alcohol in moderate amounts and sometimes immoderate on rare occasions. But I think it's absolutely important. You're supposed to be living for something else. So I try to keep the time as minimum as possible on the exercise and just what's proven to give the benefit. Thank you for the question.
Very, very, very simple question. How old are you?
55. Thank you.
Sleep was overrated, but how about social relations and communicating?
Social relations is super important. The problem is, as a mathematician, I find it really hard to quantify. Right? The whole put a number. Right, like put a number on how good your relationships are. I think I would definitely put it probably within the A tier. And it's just hard. Like that's one that I'm always been looking for, like someone who's got a good way to quantify the quality of your social relationships. But it absolutely has been shown repeatedly throughout studies is that one of the most important things is having an active social group, and that people that you can talk to and support for this absolutely is crucial. Would be bad. Again, I think, like, how do you put a number on how bad your relationship? No, you shouldn't try this, by the way. Don't how bad your relationships are, but I think it's going to be equally negative. Specifically, that one they found that people like one of the instances where they can say this is really bad is when someone is caring for a parent who is going through dementia. Who is a single caretaker, and they find that these people live much shorter. So that's about as far as I can go. I can say that yes, it's definitely bad, but at the same time, it's not something I would say in that situation you should avoid. But yes, it's having a cost. Next question.
Do the positive effects add up, or do they have diminishing return, or do they support each other and make them even better?
Well, these numbers are all calculated. So I took an actuarial table and took the hazard ratio of, okay, this gives you a 7% reduction, another thing. And it quickly blew up to say you're going to live to 200. And I just didn't think that was really realistic. So I looked into it. And the answer is that around the age of 100, this is actually my current top of mind focus. Around the age of 100, you hit the maximum amount of motor units that you have, and frailty sets in. And so basically all the interventions go to zero after 100 years old. So the goal of my plan, and I say that you can get an extra 20 years of life because that's all you can get with anything. And so the good news of that is actually, on a philosophical point of view, I quickly, even in my own calculations, I realized that I'm already doing more than is useful. I mean, that's my plan, right? Like, so I'm walking, I'm doing my exercise, I'm doing intense interval training, everything. And I'm like, and that would have me live to 100, which is the same if I did 2/3 of that or half. So it's actually giving me some freedom to say, having heavier drinking night as opposed to the moderate drinking nights or something else. I don't worry about it as much because I'm pretty much already at the maximum for what the technology provides.
Okay. Yes, number two. Okay. I got a question from someone watching online. What happened to the sauna in the challenge? Why is there no sauna? I think is what they're saying. Why is there no section where you spend a month in a sauna?
So I reverse the as the evidence comes in, or sometimes as I review it again, I've got to change things. I did fasting, by the way. I did 5-2 fasting, where I fasted 2 days a week for a decade. And then I found a study that showed that basically anytime you skip a meal, you're reducing your longevity, and stop fasting after 10 years. The sauna is the same thing. Basically, the sauna is a discount aerobic exercise. So if you don't run, you should go to the sauna, and it will give extra life. But if you already do aerobic exercise for about 20 minutes a week, the sauna provides no additional benefit in longevity terms. So when I learned that, I just dropped it because the plan already has the running. So the answer is because the plan has exactly what you need and it doesn't give any additional benefit.
I thought you were supposed to do the easier one though. So wouldn't it be easier?
Fair. Also a good approach.
This will probably be the last one.
Does anybody have a question? What do you think is the most challenging part of the challenge? Like, what do you think would be the kind of sticking point, and how do you recommend people get through that sticking point?
I mean, it's a marathon, which I find to be funny because I've done a marathon and I don't consider them to be good for longevity. But longevity is really all about the consistency. So an hour and a half in a week, I think for many of the people who do the challenge, that's actually a downgrade of the time they're spending on their exercise now. But even so, I've been kind of surprised. I'm doing these things, but I find that just week in, week out, just doing the thing, even if it's an hour and a half, and recording it is much more difficult than I thought. And it requires changing your habits, and finding a gym or finding a place you can work out. Many people do it in their own home with their own home gyms. But yeah, I'm not sure, but it just seems that just doing it week after week is the biggest obstacle to doing it, as opposed to it being that difficult. People have issues, as the person mentioned there, Anna, that she didn't feel she was perfect about it, but maybe not doing a week, but then saying, okay, I'm doing it next week, be one of the most powerful things for completing it.
That is an excellent place for us to end up this year of Nerd Night, I think. So thank you so much. Please give another round of applause.